this might be a tough decision right now. My team did absolutely
NFL games that were like,
Right.
whoa.
I actually don't
Had
understand.
a lot of mixed feelings.
welcome, Disgruntled. We have another guest here on the League of the Wings.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. I don't know how I'm gonna edit that together, but I think it will work.
We can just start over. I feel like that's a good solution.
So is this all starting over?
Yeah, we're starting over.
This is your podcast. Should you introduce it?
Yeah,
I will introduce your podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast, League of the Wings.
Yes.
We're here for another episode. I brought Caleb Leonza back on as a guest. This is not his podcast. This is my podcast.
Yes. And I get 75-25. I get 75% of the cut, and he gets 25% of the cut.
No, you're a guest, so
Oh.
you don't get any of the
Not even for
shares, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, you're
So
just
what am
being
I here?
exploited right now.
What am I here for then?
You're here. I don't know.
Oh.
This isn't your podcast.
Titus is in a coma, and he won't be co-hosting. I guess we should introduce too, because we didn't do this last time, but Josh is joining the League of the Wings.
I am.
He's playing fantasy football with us. He has no idea what football is, but he is joining us. And then, before we start off this episode is going to be about climate change. We are tackling some of the deepest rooted issues in the world, and this episode is called Climate Change. But before we do that, I want to tell a little story of my weekend and how shitty it was. Okay, so it all started last week on Wednesday, and I went tubing with Janet in Westchester, so it's about an hour outside of Philly. I was like, oh, this is going to be nice and relaxing. For the first, hour and a half, it was. Mm-hmm. But then Janet lost my phone. I mean, it was both of our faults, but so, I brought my phone, but we bought these, waterproof cases to put our phones in, and they have these, lanyards where you put around your neck and then hook onto the waterproof, baggie. It's not really a case. And you can, put your keys in and, phones and stuff. So I put it in mine, but I didn't forget the lanyard. So I was like, oh crap, I just didn't bring the lanyard. And she was like, oh, you can just hook it onto mine, because she did bring a lanyard to go around her neck for her phone. But then she was like, oh, I can just pop yours on mine because it fit. And then it popped off.
Yeah. Damn.
But it was it lasted for an hour and a half, and because it was a 2-hour tubing ride, so it was it lasted for most of the ride. And it just fell out, and she was like, oh crap, I lost your phone. So we looked upstream for 5 minutes, and I'm like, there's ain't no way that we're finding my phone in this creek, because it's it wasn't too wide, but it was wide enough where it was you had to look, and it was such a long stretch too that there was no way that we would be finding my phone. So I was like, all right, let's just bag and cut our losses. Mm-hmm. And then I called my dad and be like, yo, I lost my phone. And he was like, okay. And he's been paying insurance on it, and I was like, I'll just get you another phone. Mm-hmm. But it should be the same phone, because it was under $200 for a new phone. And I didn't have the phone with me since I lost it, so therefore I couldn't trade it in.
Right.
And get a new phone, because you're probably like, why don't you just get a new phone? But it's $600 more expensive.
That's a lot of money.
Without the phone. And we're like, yeah. And then so my dad was just like, let's just get another one for $200. So I was like, oh, okay, it's a really good phone. I had the Galaxy S9, and it was my last one was I could have probably had it for another 2 years.
Yeah.
And so we got it, and then the next day it came to Janet's house, because that's where I was, because I was in Lancaster because I drove from Westchester to Lancaster. Mm-hmm. And then an insurance company dropped off another phone the very next day, which was nice because it was a short duration, and they set up the phone, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go on pace to go back to Philly on Saturday, which I was originally going to plan, because it was just from Wednesday to Saturday morning. I was going to stay in Lancaster, and I was like, oh, okay, that should be fine. So that was Thursday. And then I was like, the phone was working all the way up until the next day on Friday night. So I went to my mom's house.
Oh.
I was at my mom's house instead of Janet's house this time, but I was spending the night at my mom's house this time, and that's when it started not working.
Malfunctioning, yeah.
And it, like, when I turned it off, like, normally, so, like, you turn it off, and then you just turn it off, like, normal. So, like, it's, like, like, you normally turn it off. But then, like, 2 seconds later, it would completely shut off. So I had to, like, turn it on. And it takes, like, 2 minutes to, like, reboot. It's, like, restarting your phone. And it was happening every, like, 2 or 3 minutes. So, like, my phone was just, like, not functioning. So I was like, fuck. So I tried, like, at that point when I realized it was, like, 10 at night, so like the Verizon store wasn't open, so I was testing what Google had, and that wasn't working because it was put it in safe mode and then reset the cache on it, and it should fix the problem. And then I tried those 2 things and it didn't work, so me and my mom went to the Verizon store the next day. They factory reset my phone and changed some of the settings, and then it worked for like 3 hours, and then it stopped, and then it started to like shut off again. So it's like 4 on Saturday, and then so we called the insurance company and be like, yo, you need to set another phone because this isn't working. And they're like, oh, okay. But then I was like, okay, like I should have it like today or tomorrow again. They should just drive it, because what they do is like they send a driver from Verizon and they just drop it off and help you set it up. It's like, oh, okay. Nice. But on the phone, they're like, we have off on Sundays.
Oh, so you had to wait the day.
Yeah, so I called them at 4 on Saturday, but I had to wait until Monday to get it, and I was waiting at my house until 5:30 p.m. So I didn't even get my phone until 5:30 p.m. on Monday. And then they shipped it this time instead of having someone like come over and set it up for me. And then so I was like, I set it up, and right now it's been about a day since I got the phone, and it's been working fine. But the old phone worked for about a day and a half, then started malfunctioning, so I'm still a little leery on this phone.
Right.
But, yeah, so I was supposed to leave for Philly Saturday, and I wanted to get back on Saturday because I'm leaving tomorrow again for Lancaster, and then driving to Pittsburgh with Janet, because we're going to see the Hello Mega Tour. It was just a pain in the ass weekend, and I wanted to document it. I know, like, you already heard that story last
Yeah, I'm like, wow, new information.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the sake of the podcast for getting your first reaction. But I just wanted to document that story because it was just a crazy event. And then I also went tubing with my dad and his fiance and her son too. So... yeah, so we went tubing again on Sunday.
Wow.
It was kind of ironic. And I was just like, basically, like, don't bring anything.
No phone to lose this time.
No phone. And then we only lost sunglasses that time, so it was work. But instead of the one in Westchester, we went close to my old house in Lancaster called Sickman's Mill. And yeah.
What's the place?
Sickman's Mill.
Sickman's Mill?
Yeah, like Sick Man's Mill. I don't know why it's called that. But... I know I'm like ranting, but like I just want to document all this because like I want to tell like a little story with my life to document it on podcast.
Yeah.
But a little side note, the Sickman's Mill added their own owners sold the place, and then new owners came and they added a bar this time called Jimmy's Place, and that made it just add booze anywhere, and it will like,
yes.
And that'll get
instantly 5 stars.
Yes. Because there was like 10 times more people there than I've ever seen. Because that's like Sickman's Mill was like a go-to spot to tube, because that was like the only place there to tube in Lancaster or in Pequot. And since the addition of like the bar, like 10 times more people would come there now, and it was like crowded, and it was insane. Yeah. Damn. But next episode I'll do a tubing place review on Westchester.
You know what I took away 2 things from this story.
What's that?
Like you said, add booze and instant 5 stars. The second thing, if you had gotten an iPhone, that wouldn't have happened.
So you're telling me
I'm just saying
that it would flow out of the water and back into the...
No, I'm saying the new phone that you got, if you got an iPhone.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably malfunction because you didn't get an iPhone.
Yep. Okay.
Just saying. Just saying.
I don't want to go into this argument because it would be like a 2-hour argument.
Yeah.
But you haven't won this. Just because you're acting all cheeky cheeky and sigh over there doesn't mean that you've won this phone argument.
How can I win something that's already been won? I don't understand.
I'm sorry that
There's no battle,
are brainwashed and go right when everyone else is going right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you go with everyone else.
Who said that's a bad thing? Sometimes you gotta jump off the bridge with the rest of the crowd. Okay, sometimes the bridge is on fire and you can't stay there anymore. I'm done.
And segue to
climate
change, where there are fires spreading all over the place.
Yes.
But yeah, so do you want to transition to climate change?
Yeah, we can talk about climate change. So I did a little research, and it's funny that Caleb, came up with the idea to talk about climate change literally like an hour or two ago.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the intergovernmental panel on climate change actually did their 6th assessment report, which is basically when they're like, this is the current status of climate change. This is what we need to do. This is how hot the planet is, et cetera, et cetera. That happened a couple of days ago or last week. So I was just saying it's funny that you bring this up because it's rather within it's within the same time span. But basically what they said in the panel was that we're just pretty screwed. It's like a code red alert for the world. I'll read you some excerpts from the article. Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to just scooch the mic in. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Just a better.
It actually gets me.
Yeah. You're trying like snuffing it.
Yeah, I'm like.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
I want to keep that all in.
Nice. Anyway, back to the article.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I took this from Forbes.com. I wish I could tell you who wrote the article. I closed the tab. Just know these are not my own ideas. These are not my words. These are someone else's.
I'm sure if you look this up, it's probably the first
right
top 5 or top 10 website
on the Google search. So anyway, right. So this week, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, released part of its 6th assessment report, which warns that we will not be able to limit global warming to even 2 degrees Celsius unless there are immediate, rapid, and large-scale reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Spoiler alert, it's already too late. This article's starting off on a very lighthearted note. It's already too late. And that's because the developed world has chosen natural gas over nuclear, and the developing world just wants any energy source they can get so they won't starve, coal included. So yeah, we're at a pretty bad point.
Yeah.
In terms of climate change.
Yeah. I didn't know how bad it was until I saw like a couple of TikToks on it.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. You can get news on TikTok, but
yeah, you can.
It was like it opened my eyes because it was like crazy of how many like wildfires are happening all around,
right,
like in America and then across like in Australia and stuff. And I was like, oh crap, like that
shit's getting real.
Yeah, like it's opening my eyes, and I forgot because we were talking about this a little bit last night while we were walking. I think it was like at 12 at night or whatever. But what did you say? You had like epiphany or something?
Yeah, just like we were talking about it last night. Just that like this sense of like existential dread, because almost like like the end of times. Like I can see it in the distance, and I know the track that like the world is going on, and I'm like within the next like 50 to 60 years. In my lifespan, I might live in a world that is coming closer and closer to the end. And my kids might be living in a world that is drastically different from mine on a climate scale and on like a world safety, world peace
Yeah.
scale, just from, the way things are going.
And it's just crazy to think about too, and I kind of had that like moment as well, because I think that best describes it. But with all these fires, like I was saying earlier, like in California, but it's like reaching to like it's going like inland. It's not just
Right.
California, but it's like going inland more to like,
Yeah,
more Midwest of
the
the U.S.
Midwest.
But like with the U.S. being a first world country,
Mm.
and just like U.S. naturally just having the stigma of being like ignorant, like an ignorant
Right.
country with like all the people living in it. Now I'm
Yeah.
not saying that every single person that lives in the U.S. is ignorant, because I
Right.
feel like now we're starting to be more aware of
Mhm.
like situations at hand.
Yeah.
But seeing all those fires kind of reaching in more in the inland U.S. kind of
Mhm.
like woke me up, and I kind of had that moment of, oh shit, like I can't just like put it aside and forget about it. Like hearing the fires in like Australia
Right.
or fires in Africa, or having like different pollution issues in China, North
Yeah.
Korea, or like the Korea, like in that section of Asia.
Right.
I'm like, I can't just be like, oh, tuck it away, and it's just like
Right.
it's on the other side of the ocean, like
Yeah,
thousands of
yeah.
miles away. I can't just like do that now. And I'm like, and you still can do that with like
Right.
California like fires being on the opposite coast of it,
Right.
and be like, oh, I don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah,
but now
yeah.
It's like moving in, and it's like, oh shit, like
It's here.
yeah, like
Right. It's right in our backyard.
Yeah, now it's like, what the fuck do we do? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like the world is just like caving in on itself,
Right.
exploding.
And yesterday I saw this tweet, and the tweet was talking about what was going on in Afghanistan, I'm pretty sure. And the gist of the tweet was basically like, we try so hard, or there's a need for us to be global citizens, right? To care about things that are going on, not just in our country or or locally, but like in the world itself at large. It's very difficult as an individual person to care that much about all of it. I don't think we have the emotional range to like care about, to have that much space in our heart for everyone and everything everywhere. And you have, like, with social media and everything, there's a constant influx of new information, new news, new tragedies. Like, all this stuff is going on, and it's almost like information sensory overload. So it's like, we're aware of these things that are going on, but it's so easy for us to just read it and go and just keep moving on in our lives as if nothing's happening. And I don't blame people for adopting that attitude either, because there's so much, like, there's so much going on in your life. There's so much going on in your life in regards to your identity or your marginalized identity or whatever social issues are going on. America has so many freaking social issues. It's like, how do we keep up with, racial inequality, prison reform, climate change, and, it's like, it's so much. Don't you feel that?
Yeah, I feel that too, and it just goes to show you how important, like, or how much stress a president of the United States,
Right.
or like a high official puts on as well.
Yeah.
And it's just like, not even president, but even on a lower stage, like just the government or fucking like, what, mayor?
Yeah, local government.
Yeah, local government
Yeah.
has to handle with all those issues, because they have to worry about all those issues.
Right.
And it's just crazy to me. I know that they have like different departments to handle different situations, and the president only get detailed on like the most extreme like circumstances, I assume.
Right.
But like they have to pay attention to so many different things.
Yeah.
And everything that you said is like perfect too, but it's like almost you kind of have to find the balance to like care just enough too, because it's like, if you don't care at all, then like no issue is going to be resolved. But if you care too much, then it's like you're gonna freaking like get a heart attack trying to like save the entire world, when it's impossible too, because like you're only one individual, you can only do so much to help so many people. I mean, like money, where you live too, it like factors into how much you can actually help and how much influence you have. But if you start on an individual like level 2, like with recycling, it can help so much, kind of bringing it back to like the like climate issue. But it does matter how, like, even the smallest things, like, if you still have a big impact. Like, if you just recycle, that's, like, still a big part.
Yeah.
And then, like, a little side note, I know I'm kind of, like, talking in so many different points.
Yeah,
back and forth.
Yeah, go
like,
ahead.
It may be a little confusing, but back to the point where it's, like, you can't handle everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, humans just can't. I feel like only in the past, like, century and a half, we, like, kind of knew what the entire world was doing at once with, like, social media and just, like, technology growing. But, like, 150 years ago, people just didn't know what was going on.
On the other side of the world.
Yeah, like, in the 1800s, we were only focused on, like, America because it's, like, we didn't have the technology to send back and forth, and information was so delayed. So it's, like, it's crazy to think that we're expected to know so much and to help bring awareness when that's not something that's humanly possible to do. Right. And, like, even going back to, like, cavemans and stuff, like, they didn't fucking care about, they just cared about their inner circles and keeping their family alive. But again, like, they don't have, it's obviously different, like, issues and different, like, things, but it's just kind of crazy how that kind of evolved. If that made any sense.
No,
I felt like that was kind of all jumbled.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's only recently, like, it's only, like you said, it's only been very recently that we've had the ability to be aware to the scale that we can be and have the potential to be now. So it's just, like, I think we're still, like, figuring that out, like, as a collective and individually. But I mean, that ties into, like, there's also an implied pressure within that problem, because then you start to think on an individual scale of, like, okay, what can I do to solve this issue? And I feel like sometimes you, like, either kind of choose to ignore it and you're like, oh, like, what can I do? I'm just one person. I'm not going to recycle. Or you actually do, you know, recycle, you compost. Like, shout out to Caleb. Caleb and Janet set up their own little composting thing on the roof.
We can talk about that later.
I was like, should we segue right now?
We can segue after you finish up your thought.
Right.
You can come back to it.
Yeah, there's kind of two, like, schools of thought within that, but there's I feel like solving the climate crisis is very much like it's an individual thing, it's a collective thing, and it's also a corporate thing. I think a lot of the times we put so much pressure on us as consumers to consume less and to limit how much, you know, energy and fuel we're using. But these corporations who have money, who are putting that money into programs and things and systems that are making the climate worse, those are the people that we need to be demanding to not do that, right? You should not be opening up another coal mine in South America. You should not be, you know, doing all these things to encourage us to use more fuel, right? Like, those are the people who have the resources, who have the pull, who have the political pull to really make a difference and, you know, stop this thing before it gets out of control.
I want to talk, okay, so, like, I guess kind of segmenting, like, kind of the segments within this podcast. Sorry for that being wordy, but I want to first talk about composting, and then I want to talk, because I feel like that's just a short little segment, but I want to then transition to, like, corporations, like you were just talking about, because like, corporations, I feel like, feed into, like, climate and everything so much, and fueling that bad side of it. And then kind of like a last thought to wrap up the idea of kind of trying to know everything around the world and kind of almost being impossible. I feel like US gets a bad rap of being ignorant. I mean, it is true to a sense. Because
we live in a bubble.
We definitely do, and I'm not saying that that we don't live in a bubble, because, like, I'm very ignorant as myself, just, like, geographically, like, knowing where places are.
Me too,
world issues. I mean, I know about world issues, but I don't know enough, like, detail. Like, I know what's happening in Afghanistan, but I don't know what led up to that. You know? Like, I don't know the entire war that we're having over there in the Middle East. Like, I don't know every minute detail about it as much as I should, but I feel like U.S. gets too unnecessarily bashed on for that, because I feel like other places are also ignorant too.
For sure.
Because like it's impossible to know every little detail about every little thing that's happening around the world.
That's true.
And trying to be aware, because I'm sure that there's people in Canada, people in Europe, like other first world countries that don't know every little detail about every little like issue.
Yeah.
They probably know like more like general knowledge than we
Right.
do, like culturally, like more culturally
Yeah.
like, than us. But I feel like U.S. does a pretty good job of trying to get the news in.
Yeah.
Kind of. Not really.
I would say that it's just the quality of news. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's very much like there's a very clear distrust of like the news and the media because of that, because there's that distrust in America. Like, I feel like it's very hard for people to want to stay informed and to trust the sources of like information that they're getting that information from. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, I mean, I guess the like ignorance problem in the U.S., it's very bad, and we deserve. What I'm rephrasing, like, fucking in America, we should be on butt ends of the jokes about that, but it's not like what I'm trying to say. It's not like we're a freaking like pig. It's not like we're a pig that knows like absolutely nothing. Yeah. And I feel like what doesn't be spoke about, that there is ignorance. What I'm trying to say is that I feel like there is ignorance all over the world. Right. About different parts of like, the world, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I'm sure like I doubt that like people in, you know, UK or Asia are like keeping up with what's going on in America too, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like, they're not like, how the fuck are they knowing?
They're not going to care.
Yeah. They're not going to care what the fucking Kardashians are up to. But like, not even like that, I guess on the serious note, but like every little issue in America as well. Like, like I've seen like TikToks where British people are like ignorant and making fun of the U.S. too. Right. So I feel like
it's pretty widespread.
What I'm trying to say is that other places are also ignorant. Maybe not as bad as the U.S. Since everyone focuses on the U.S. being like super ignorant, they stray away from other countries also being ignorant. And that's what I'm trying to say, that the U.S. shouldn't get as bad as a rap. It's but not saying that the jokes are deserved, because I feel like it is deserved. If that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm just going like back and forth on it. I just feel like people don't realize that other countries are also ignorant.
Yeah, we're all capable.
But going back, okay, I guess, do you want to talk about composting or
go ahead.
Corporation? Do you want? I was just going to say, I know I said we should talk about composting first, then corporations, but I'm wanting to make you have the choice. Do you want to talk about corporations, then composting, or composting, then corporations?
You talk about composting.
Okay, so this little segment. Oh, it stopped.
You gotta reset it.
Composting is
We're back.
Hey guys, we didn't leave. But okay, this is just gonna be a little segment on composting, because it has to do with the climate change. So Jan and I made this little garden up on our roof deck, and it has strawberry. Well, you've seen it, but I guess. I guess I should talk directly more to the camera.
It's invisible.
But it has strawberries, lettuce, and then it has like different types of lettuce. That like romaine lettuce and spinach. Like all the lettuce is dead and all the spinach is dead, so I just cut it and uprooted it. Yeah. Because like it's not like a year-round plant where it just continuously grows year-round. When it gets like too hot, it dies off. So I just cut it and then composted it. But yeah, like it's slowly transitioning from a garden into just a compost bin, because just of the water at the bottom, if you didn't notice, kind of like low, dried up, and it's not really there. So I'm just trying to convert it into a compost bin, because it's easier to take care of, and I don't know why, I just like really like composting. But I think that compost pile, me and Janet made that garden in the beginning of May, and how we did it was we got this bin, and then on two ends of it, so not the long way, but like the
short way.
Yeah, short way.
Wide.
Yeah, we poked holes in it so that the bottom of the bin can fill up with water, but only halfway. So the water gets out of it. But then we put like plastic things like plastic plant holders at the bottom of it, and then we put a trash stick bag around the outliner of it. Then we put the dirt like on the trash bag, and the plastic like plant things hold up the dirt, and basically the water goes up to the trash bag, and we poked holes at the bottom of the trash bag, and so the water like seeps through and waters the plants and kind of recycles the worm juice, because worm juice is like really bad and it could like make it really smelly and stuff. So I know that sounded really confusing and didn't make like a lot of sense, but that's kind of how he did it. I think I probably compost probably easily like composted like 15 to 20 pounds of just like compostable like waste,
right,
of like eggs, strawberry, like the leaves on strawberries, just like rotten fruit that we had around the house. So I'm just like proud of that, because it's like that 15 to 20 pounds is not going into the
the environment
and landfill and stuff. And I had this environment class not last semester, but the semester before that one, so I guess the beginning of sophomore year. And I was watching this one YouTube video, because he had like a bunch of YouTube videos to study from, and the fact that stood out to me is that compostable waste doesn't go away in landfills and can stay up into landfills to 60 plus years. Right. And the thing, or like the certain trash that's within landfills, that is takes up the most space within a landfill, is not plastic, metals, or non-compostable items, but is in fact, landfills are like some crazy number, like 70% of like papers and compostable waste that's just not being composted. So that's kind of sad to see that like compostable waste that shouldn't be in landfills and taking up like waste is not being like composted and like polluting the earth by staying on the planet for longer amounts of times. And that the reason why it's not getting composted within landfills is because you need like water, air within the dirt, and just like rotating your compost to actually make it a good compost and have lots of worms. But within landfills, what they do is they have like this plastic like thing underneath of landfills that keeps perfumes and any like potent like liquids from seeping into the dirt. Right. So they like block off like water getting into an airway. It makes it basically airless and waterless, and they don't like continually like rotate the dirt, so like no air is getting into it, no natural water is like seeping through it, and it's just not being composted. So we have like a bunch of these landfill sites just like taking up earth and space and stuff that's unneeded, and it's polluting the oceans and just the environment and ecosystems around it. And yeah, it's just crazy how much a lot of things can be composted as well, and it's just, if everyone composted, it would save so much like space within landfills and pollution too, because from looking at our trash, it's just crazy how much like compostable things that we throw out. That is just crazy, that if we would have, like, I know that it's composted, it wouldn't go into landfills, but it's like super hard to do that too with 5 roommates. And the compost bin that we do have, it's not big enough to have all of our waste within it, because it's like a very limited thing. But just like the little amount is just like doing a lot, saving so much. And it's like when I just put in some more compost in this morning, but it, like the worm, I have so many like baby worms, and the dirt is so like rich, and it's like the best dirt that I've ever had. Wow. And when I put something in, the worms are just eating it within like a week, and it's just crazy how much they're eating it. And I had 3 corns on the cobs I think like a month ago, and corn on the cobs usually take a while to compost just because of how rough and thick they are. Right. But like, that shit is hard as fuck. Yeah, so it's gonna take a while to compost, but like it's been like 3 to 4 weeks since I put it in there, and like it's already almost like gone. Wow. And it's just like crazy, because I never had a compost site work that well.
Them worms is eating good.
I mean, like the worms that I do have in there is like reproducing and stuff, and baby worms, and it's like eating stuff fast.
They
like
getting busy.
Yeah, like I fucking like put, like a fucking apple core in there, and it's gone in like half a week, and I'm like, holy shit.
Damn.
And it's just that little stuff makes a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just cool to see that and satisfying because like I've
Yeah.
always been into composting since 4th grade
Mm-hmm.
because my teacher he was kind of like an earthy guy, all about like climate change and saving
Right.
the earth too, and he kind of like inspired me to like start caring about the environment and so strict about or like on top of like recycling. And when I was living with my dad, I was always on top of him,
Right.
like to recycle, and it's just like this inside joke where we just kind of joke about like like me getting on top of him for recycling,
Right.
and him being like, oh, I'm too lazy, like it's so much work.
No. No, Dad.
I'm so mad at you. But
Oh my
like he
God.
inspired for me to like be on that like kind of person, and we had like this garden in 5th grade where or 4th or 5th grade, I can't remember, where we started at the beginning of like the fall, or maybe it was spring, the beginning of spring, and then ended at the end of spring. And we
Right.
grew like this garden, and I think it was like radishes, lettuce, carrots, and we were growing all of these kind of things in this garden, and we were like taking care of it as like a class. And it was so cool to see like the seed that we planted growing into like
Right.
a carrot or whatever. And we had like at the end of the year, we like made a salad with all of our stuff in it.
Hey.
And it was like so satisfying to just eat everything that we like grew ourselves.
Yeah.
And he even went to the extent of getting this like big compost bin, and like basically everyone in the school knew of him, and he was just that kind of teacher where like
Yeah.
everyone loves him, even
Yeah.
if you didn't have him as like a teacher.
Right.
And it's just and he put like this big like compost bin in the cafeteria, and he basically said like, take your compostable things to this area, and he taught us like what's compostable and what's not
Right.
compostable, and like it's like all these like different things. Like you can't compost citrusy foods, meats, citrusy foods being like lemons, limes, no pineapples, like that kind of things.
Sorry, my sister was trying to FaceTime me.
It's okay. Does she want to be on a guest? But what if you just answer? Just be like, I'm on a
Another
podcast.
one.
It's amazing how many things like aren't compostable but are. He just taught us that and said like, if you have any like carrots or vegetables left over, just throw it into the compost
Right.
bin, and then throw out your trash. And then I was like, one day I asked him to have get a big or a small bucket full of worms inside dirt, because I wanted to start my own compost thing. And I started my own compost thing like in the little section of the woods.
Oh wow.
By this like big tree, and it wasn't very good because it was just like, it's like a 8-year-old.
Right. You're
like,
novice.
Kind of big
Just
kid.
starting out. Yeah.
But like I kept like that compost pile throughout like after I moved to Harrisburg. But like basically what it was just like remains from like the garden and or like yard work that we did. Like if we cut up trees, we would just throw it onto the compost pile, and it worked decently. Like I would throw bananas in there too, and other like waste like that. So I mean, it was like doing its job, quote unquote. That's what kind of kicked my like composting thing,
right,
and wanting to do compost. And that's why I love the compost upstairs bin so much, because it's like something that it's actually good. I mean, it doesn't look the prettiest, but it's
decorated.
Yeah. But it's like, it's such good dirt. It's the worms are like reproducing, actually supposed to be doing what they're doing, and it's like actually
rewarding.
And like actually beneficial to like the environment as well, because it's like I just put a whole ass peach in there because like I brought over peaches from my mom's house, and one of them got like spoiled, and I was like, I'll just pop it in there and see what happens. But that's kind of my spiel
on composting.
On composting.
Well, that's shout outs to you, because that is like, it's just amazing that you've taken that initiative, because like I know like personally I feel like I haven't done enough And that goes back to that whole, like, what can you as an individual do to sort of help with climate change? I think we all sort of just have to figure out where we're falling short and just close those gaps however we can, right? And it's so amazing that you've, like I said, taken that initiative and you're continuously putting effort and work into that. And, like, yeah, I feel like I mean, like, I try and stay on top of people about recycling. The most that I do, and something that I think is very easy for anyone to do, honestly, is just talk about it, right? Like, I try and, like, bring it up whenever I can. I try and, like, learn more about it if I can, just because knowing helps, and talking about it, opening up spaces for discussion, for people to gain more knowledge, for people to engage in the discourse. I think that's helpful too.
Yeah, and I think me and you, out of, like, the young bulls, or, like, just our roommates, are, like, the top two people that are, like, most I feel like you're more outspoken
about
than me, but I feel like I kind of make up for that with composting. But, like, you are very good about, like, recycling and stuff. Yeah. And then I feel like me and you are just, like, always recycling and always like talking about it and how important it is to recycle. And kind of this, like, climate change as a whole, because I do want to, like, talk about recycling a little bit, because I feel like recycling and composting are kind of, like, the same thing, or in the same genre of things that you can do to help the earth. And it's very cool to see, like, you being that advocate, because, like, I don't, like, in my time, like, I haven't really ran into anybody who's been so passionate about, like, about the environment and, like, climate change, and it's just cool to relate to you on that level. Same. And it's just like, I feel like you could just, like, rant about like, how important it is to recycle and like the damage that us humans are actually causing to the earth. How do you go about recycling, or I guess, like, what your thoughts on recycling as a whole? Because I kind of went on my spiel about, like, composting. And I feel like you're good at, you can take over that
recycling, the recycling discourse. Just do it. Like, it's so easy. It's so easy to just like, and you don't have to. I just learned this. I just learned this from a cartoon, actually. You don't have to completely wash out, like, if you have, like, a can of, like, soup or, like, sauce bottles, or especially kind of annoying to have to clean out, you don't have to completely clean those out. You can just do the best you can to sort of rinse it out, and you can just recycle that. You don't have to have a completely empty or clean container in order to recycle it. That's a myth. But recycling is so easy. It's literally like, they teach you it in school, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's one of the most elementary things you can do to have a positive impact on the environment. Of course, you know, recycling only goes so far. Like, that whole, like, rhetoric can often get used to sort of, like, downplay, like, the need to recycle or the need to make any sort of, you know, constructive or conducive action to stop, you know, climate change. You can't really... We just have to do a better job of phrasing things in a way that's not necessarily negative, but we tend to talk about things as if they're like, as if they can't change or they can't get better. When in reality, things can change, things can get better if we just take the action necessary to change it. We can't downplay the potential we have as a collective to really make a difference.
I agree. I know, like, it's kind of straightforward, kind of like you mentioned a little bit, to, like, just to recycle. Kind of what's your experience with recycling throughout your life, or even, like, now?
Like, I feel like I was always very aware of, like, that climate change was a thing, and that it was very much something that I need to care about. I don't think I spent a lot of time actively, like, thinking about it. I always recycled. I always, like, even recycling, I don't think I took that seriously until, like, honestly, until I got to college. Just because at that point, I was starting to, you know, you move out of the high school bubble into the world, and you start to learn about things, and you start to learn about the world. Humanitarianism is just a big thing in my life that I want to try and incorporate more and encourage other people to also embody, because we're just all like, we're all living on the same planet, you know, like we have to care. We have to care. I feel like I definitely started to care more about recycling and climate change in general.
That's so fascinating because like I always wondered like if you've always been like that cautious about like recycling, and if that was like a part of your life ever since you were young, or you just like started it like you kind of said more when you got into college and stuff. I
was always against littering though. Littering is disgusting.
It's so gross.
Oh my god. If you litter in front of me.
Oh, okay. You wanna know something embarrassing?
You guys wanna
You wanna know something embarrassing? But like I'm still like shamed like of myself today. But like I was at Hershey Park and I had this drink and we were waiting in line, and I don't know what brought me to this, but like I had this like drink of lemonade, and like you know the plastic things that go on the straw. Yeah. I like discreetly like just dropped it because I didn't want to fucking hold it. And
okay.
And I was like, this is why I'm shamed too, because I was like, people clean up here, like it's gonna get like swept up and it like thrown out eventually. I just don't want to fucking hold it all the way to the fucking trash. But there was like a trash can like so close. But this guy behind us, he was like, bro, like pick up your fucking trash, like don't fucking litter. Like I'm like, oh my god, like I understand if it's like littering, I would like tell you to do it, but like you got so fucking pissed off. Like you can just say like, hey, you shouldn't read, like, you shouldn't litter, like pick it up please, like. But he was like, he had such like a certain tone about it too. It was just like, it's not that deep.
You're not helping anything by approaching it that way,
And it was awkward too because it was one of those lines that go back and forth. So we would like pass each other. But we would pass each other like. Okay. He wasn't directly behind me.
Right.
Like he was here and he was and I was here, and there was like that divider.
Right.
And so we would like pass each other and he would just like fucking give me glares every time.
Awkward.
I'm like, now I'm never gonna fucking like litter in my life again.
Right.
Like, I learned my fucking trauma to never littering again. Like, but that was at the point where I was like still like recycle oriented and still like very conscious about the environment.
Right.
I'm going to take this law, or I guess law in the conversation a little bit to go get a drink.
Okay.
Now, do you want like water or anything? Because we're talking a lot. Okay, I want to be like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Now, this is a very important job. You have to keep them entertained.
Oh, I have to do that?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
you're
it's my podcast, right? So
you should be a pro. You should be a pro at this, right? Yeah.
I do this all the time.
Yeah, I should be like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes max.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
Back. You can talk about whatever.
Yeah. Hey guys. It's just me now. Caleb is gone. He just shut the door. So now I have to entertain you. That's my job. That's what I'm gonna be doing. So, you know, how are your lives? Your lives going? Good. Wow, really? That's crazy. No way. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. Well, you know, that's great to hear. I'm so glad or upset or angry for you. Take whatever you need. But, you know, yeah, how's my life? My life is great. Woke up at 11:30 a.m. today. So that was pretty nice. It wasn't actually. I hate waking up that late. You know, because then it's just like my entire day is spoiled. Because I woke up so late. You know, when you wake up early, you sort of get your day started. The potential for what can happen throughout the rest of your day is so much more vast. When you wake up at fucking 11:30 or 12, it's like, all right, I woke up in the afternoon. I'm not gonna do anything for the rest of the day. You know, it's such a mood killer. But tomorrow I'll be up at like 9. I'll be up at 10:30. I'll be up at 10:30. Oh, I think my guest is returning. Right on time. Look at that. I was just telling them about my life and my day today.
Your day? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys enjoy his spiel about his day? Well, that's good that you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
On my walk to get my drink and this orange Monster juice. I'm not sponsored, but if you would like to sponsor us, that would be also good.
Yes.
Give us 30 grand about that. That should.
About.
Yeah, small.
Yeah.
It's just small.
Yeah, we're open to more than 30
Yeah,
grand.
like if you want to give us more, that's also acceptable.
Absolutely fine. Yeah.
100%.
No pressure though.
Yeah, but we just start off at 30 grand.
Yeah.
Okay. But as I was walking to get my drinks, I'm fucking so out of shape. Like fucking walking back and up and down the stairs, like I'm already like a little out of breath.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to recover. But on that little walk, I want to wrap up recycling about telling you guys what is acceptable to recycle and what's not. Because I feel like even I struggle with this, but like it's important to know what you can actually, like what people can actually recycle.
Yes.
And what it's not not okay to recycle, or it's it would kind of mess up the recycling places, because some recycling places in Pennsylvania are actually closing, or thinking about closing down, just because they're getting too much trash within the recycling units, and it takes too much money to sort it, and it takes too much money to process some of the recyclables. Yeah. So they're losing money, and so they're going out of business, because they're receiving too much trash than recyclables. Like I said, it's I feel like it's a common like thought process that you can just like throw in whatever looks recyclable into like the recycling can. It's like, oh, this little piece of paper or this plastic bag, let me just throw it in and like forget about it, and it's gonna be recycled and reused.
Let me throw these freaking industrial batteries into the recycling can.
But like plastic bags can't be recycled.
Yes.
Wrapping like candy wrappings, like M&M wrappings, like any of those wrappers. May look like they're still plastic. But it's not. It can't be recycled. Trash. Napkins, like paper towels, like used paper towels can't be recycled. I like what? Like
I'm like, how do you not know that?
Yeah, like it seems
Let me not
obvious.
bash you.
but like it seems obvious, like it shouldn't be recycled. But I've like noticed over my time, I'm still getting recycling bins and stuff, and just feel like people are trying to recycle like these kinds of things that can't be recycled, and I don't know if it's out of like laziness
or just lack of knowledge,
but sandwich bags you can't recycle, but like thin plastic like that more often than not can't be recycled, or it takes too many resources to recycle. Even cardboard is recyclable, recycle cardboard, but it's hard to recycle cardboard, so it takes a lot of resources to actually recycle cardboard. Not saying to not recycle cardboard, but just like I guess a general knowledge thing.
And stained cardboard, like if you get a like pizza or something, that cardboard you can't recycle. That cardboard has to go in the trash.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until recently.
Oh, and I learned this from Janet, but different types of cardboard can't be recycled either. Like you have to look on the label or whatever, because I don't know every single like cardboard like specifics, but cereal boxes can't be recycled. Like that cardboard can't be recycled.
That's crazy.
Like when she told me that, I'm like, oh my god, I've been recycling, and I still like forget, and still like
I'm like thinking about all the recycling.
But I even forget. I still put in recyclable or I still put in cereal boxes because I forget. But like that can't be recycled. But it's just insane. Crazy. But like the two most important things to recycle that you should always recycle and not throw out. It's aluminum and any glass products, because they're the most easy to recycle, and it takes the less resources to recycle them because they're super easy to like recycle.
Right.
Because with aluminum, you can just like melt that down and then reuse it. And I forget how they recycle
glass
precisely, but I just know it's an easier process.
Right.
And also egg carton containers, like the things, I forget what that is, but it like McDonald's also, when you get like 4 drinks or whatever,
yeah,
like that type of material, is also super like recyclable. Like we should always recyclable like egg cartons, because that material, like aluminum, can be shredded and they add water, so it's easy. But it's like easy to recycle that. Yeah. And made into other materials. But yeah, so that wraps up recycling. I'm going to reset the camera. But we're already at like a fucking hour, and I feel like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like we still have lots of time to talk about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How are you doing?
We're back.
Hi, guys. But how are you doing? Like, how much longer do you think you can go? Or do you have...
I can go like another 30, 40 minutes.
Okay. Like, I didn't know if you had somewhere to be or things
No,
to do.
Yeah.
I don't
Nothing
wanna,
demanding.
I don't want to take up like your entire day.
No, you're good.
We freaking like talked like 40 minutes to talk about like compost and recyclable. I didn't mean for like that to segue.
Take up so much time.
But that was important because I did want like those two things to be talked about within this thing, because it's important to climate change as a whole. And I guess we'll talk more about climate change like in general, like general things about it more. But I feel like this is a good topic. But you brought up a good point that I wanted to talk about after composting is corporations, and I feel like you kind of know a little bit more information about that. So do you want to lead that conversation more?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and a lot of the times I feel like it comes down to capitalism is not the best. Yeah. You know, there's no... At the end of the day, the only incentive within capitalism is to make a profit. And making a profit involves exploiting people. If we're living in this capitalistic society where all these corporations, all these companies are like, I need to make a profit, I need to make a bigger check, I need to make, money for the shareholders or whatever, there's no incentive to care about the environment. There's no incentive to care about people, much less. All of these corporations are just going to keep exploiting. They're going to exploit people. If they're not exploiting people, they're going to exploit the environment. And so the government itself, I also feel like needs to do a better job, kind of like putting or getting the leash on some of these companies and just being like, we need to like create some policies or some laws that we can put in place to incentivize these companies to sort of start caring about the environment. I think there's stuff like that already in place. I'm pretty sure. I don't know enough. I don't know enough to speak on it. I think, the government just needs to do a better job of enforcing this issue. I
think you are correct about that, because I heard that about like different articles I read and just like different things that I heard from other people. But the government is starting to incentivize certain companies to go eco-friendly, but the problem is that it takes such a long time for some of the bills to be enforced and even to be passed. And so it's slowly becoming better, but it's going to take time that we don't have. That's such a problem as well. And it's so difficult too, because it's impossible not to feed into the capitalistic views or agendas, because like everything that we use on a daily basis is a part of that. And like this, like Monster, the cans and stuff, like their corporations probably not eco-friendly, and just to make the juice, just to the factories that are just to make like Monster, it's just insane. Or like the wires,
this computer,
wires and stuff, and then like we get new laptops no matter, like, this lasted you a pretty long time.
Right.
But, like, you're eventually, like, a few years from now going to get a
one.
new laptop.
Yeah.
And that laptop is going to go somewhere.
Right.
And it's just, like...
We're feeding into it.
Yeah.
There's no ethical consumption in capitalism.
It's crazy. I think companies are starting to become better at it. Like, they're starting still, like, eco-friendly companies out there that weren't there, like, 20 years ago. Like,
for sure.
Elon Musk is very good about the environment. Like, that's, like, his whole stick, or one of his main sticks is to be eco-friendly with, like, the Tesla being all electric and just some of the other, like, things that he helps with the environment. And then Aldi, too. Like, the grocery store, like, they're very eco-friendly because they kind of started the whole wave with bags. Yeah. Using paper bags instead of plastic bags. But like you said, or like I mentioned earlier, like, compostable stuff like that takes a while to compost within landfills. But if people have compost things, they can just stick those bags within their compost, and worms will love that. So in that way, it's very good, and it's a lot better than plastic bags, because even though it takes a while for the brown paper bags to actually dissolve and go away, it is a lot faster than, let's say, a plastic bag. Right. I've heard numerous stories where, like, companies dispose of, like, radioactive waste or, like, their
chemicals,
waste, like, chemicals into, like, rivers, streams and stuff. Right. And it's, like, going through the environment, wreaking havoc on the, like, fish, all the ecosystems within the creek and around the creek. Right. And one creek supplies so much water for, like, livestock and other, like, deer, other bigger animals, wolves, bears, whatever. Right. And it's just crazy, but, like, I feel like we are taking initiative where that's happening less and less. Yeah. And which is a good thing because of these laws that are being passed. But I feel like the climate change, the biggest problem is within corporations. Yeah. And it's so hard to do a 180 because one, you got owners who are stubborn, who aren't going to make that switch and just think climate change is fake. So you got to switch their minds, and then just to actually switch the factories, how they make the products, the packaging that comes along with those products.
It's an expensive process. It takes time. So
it's just that transition into being a more eco-friendly business is going to take time. But, like, we're going from fossil fuels to more eco-friendly, like, solar panels and
nuclear energy.
Just renewable energy like that, and we're slowly transitioning, which is nice. But I just don't know if we can make that transition fast enough in time. And it's just crazy because the corporations, the huge companies like Coca-Cola, Apple, Samsung are the most detrimental to the earth.
Environment.
Yeah, because they're producing all this waste, they're producing all of this bad chemicals within it. You can do as much as on the individual level, but if you're still having corporations produce harmful chemicals within the environment and into just the world, it's just going to be a detriment to our society.
Right. Yeah. And the other good thing, it's not really a good thing, but a positive you can say is that, you know, at this point, it's pretty undeniable that climate change is here. Like, we've all felt it to some degree. Some of us more than others, unfortunately, but even I feel like the seasons don't make sense anymore. Like, we go there's no fall, there's no spring. We just go right into, like, it's cold and then it's hot, you know? Like, that, it shouldn't be like that. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like I haven't experienced a real seasonal, like, time. Like, length of time in so long.
It's
like,
either summer or winter.
Right.
It's no in between.
Either summer or winter. At the end of the day, and one of the reasons I care so much about this is because the people who are going to hurt the most are the people who have contributed the least to climate change, right? These either smaller developed nations or developing nations, or just marginalized communities in general. Because racial inequality and racial discrimination also, there are intersections within that and climate change, right? Because you think about I'll read some things off of this article that I just read today by Adele Thomas and Miranda Haynes. So, in the United States, disproportionate percentages of people of color live in places that are polluted with toxic waste, leading to negative health effects such as cancer, asthma, degraded cardiac function, and high blood pressure. Research has also highlighted that race has a stronger influence on exposure to pollutants than poverty. This means it is likely that polluters not only cite their activities in low-income areas, but in some cases are actively selecting locations where there are high percentages of black people in particular. Look at Philly, right? There is a high percentage of black people living within this community alone, and there is so much trash that we are surrounded by on a daily basis that is negatively impacting the community that we live in, the community that these people live in. That's not fair. We shouldn't have to go through that. I'm going to read more. Black communities are also disproportionately located in areas that are physically vulnerable to climate hazards, such as hurricanes and flooding. Moreover, they are often afforded unequal levels of protection from the government as compared to protection provided for other groups. For example, Hurricane Katrina highlighted the legacy of unequal flood protection in New Orleans, where racially based distribution of government funding resulted in subpar levee protection for black neighborhoods. Over 80% of the homes that were lost belonged to black people, and black people made up over half of total fatalities. Even after black people bore the brunt of impacts of Katrina, initial plans for redevelopment of New Orleans privileged white communities. This isn't just a black issue, right? Like, black people are experiencing the brunt of it, yes, but this is happening. This can happen on a global scale, right? The people who are oppressed, the people who are marginalized, the people who don't have the capital or the level of government necessary to protect them against, these large scale climate disasters or just, the fallout of climate change in general, those people are not going to be protected in 2050 or in 2060 when maybe we're not at, doomsday level, right? Yeah. But there's so much more hurricanes, we're feeling more effects of climate change. Those people are not going to have protection. And that's just another reason I feel like to care.
Yeah. Go off, King, because I love when you do that. I've said that in the past, but it's so crucial to, have those rants.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
There's so many things that I want to brought my head thinking about so many different things and so many different options. But the first thing I want to say too is that even it doesn't matter what your thoughts on climate change is happening. What I mean by is that, or it doesn't matter your thoughts on climate change whether you think it's real or not. Right. Or if humans are doing it or if humans are not doing it, because that's another big conception. It's it's not real because we're not controlling.
Shut up.
It's not about that. Okay. I hate that argument because one, climate change is a part of Earth. If you just exclude humans, take humans out of it. Right. Climate change happens on Earth.
Yes.
It's a real scientific thing that happens on Earth. The Earth change, because it's millions of years old. It's today's age. Right now, it's not going to be the same as it was 10,000 years ago. Verbatim. Ice ages, multiple ice ages happen throughout the Earth's time period. So that's,
oh my god,
that's the Earth, meaning Earth gets super cold,
right?
And literally everything.
The climate changed.
Yeah. It's a real thing.
Climate change.
It's a real thing. So you can't dispute. It's
there's
a real
there's
thing
nothing to argue on. Yeah, exactly.
It's a real thing. But I feel I didn't understand this more. But the main thing is whether humans impacted or not, right. Or if humans are making it go fast or
contributing. How much we're contributing.
And for the longest time I just didn't really understand that concept because I just young me was stupid. But
right.
Hold on, I think there we go. Sorry, I had to burp there, but that kind of lost my train of thought. Hold on. But crap.
Young you was kind of
Young me didn't really understand that, and what I thought was like humans contributed like 100% of climate change, and is what's making the Earth change. And I never really thought of like the concept of climate change that the humans aren't a part of. Like the Earth actually does change over time. I didn't really understand that aspect.
Yeah.
But now that I'm reading more information and stuff, and I actually understand it more because I took a class 2 semesters ago, like I said previously, and it better understand me what climate change is exactly. And I don't think that humans are 100% of making the climate change, like change. Because I think a part of it is like the natural, like Earth just like changing,
warming,
just like global or like warming up naturally, and I think that's just part of the Earth.
Right.
But I feel like there's like data and statistics now. Science can be wrong, and it's proven wrong so many times. So like this can change within the next 5 years. But there is scientific evidence showing that humans are contributing to it. Yeah. And it's just we don't know how much and to what extent. But there's graphs showing like the natural ups and downs of temperatures. Right. But the thing that's the most scary is the amount of carbon being released. Yes. And that is like scientific data that we can actually see that we're actually we do have an impact on the Earth. Right. And that's something that we can see because naturally there's just like carbon. I forget who saw it or who like found this detail out, but it was like in the late 1800s that showing that carbon levels like increase and decrease every single year because it's dependent on the weather. Right. So you're going to see depths and lows of carbon being released throughout the year. So like in the winter is the highest amount of carbon in the air because all the trees are dead. Yeah. But in springtime and during the summer, it's the least amount of carbon because you have all the trees, leaves sprouting, and they're collecting the carbon. So you're not going to have that much carbon. Right. So, but it's like a natural up and down, steady, and it's kind of going on this scale naturally. I think over time it's like up and then down, up and down. But since the Industrial Revolution, it's just been skyrocketing. It's like going straight up, and we're seeing highs that we've never seen on the Earth before that are so high that even when the highest of high of carbons, it's like on Earth, like thousands of years ago, it's like 20 times more than that now since the Industrial Revolution. So we're seeing impacts like that. That we're kind of expediting climate change to a certain degree. Yes, I think that it's not all of our fault that the climate is changing, but I also think that we do have a pretty decent chunk in making the climate change and for the bad or for the worse. It's just frustrating. Yeah, for sure. And like at the end of the day, I don't know if like it's not just humans that are living on the Earth, right? There is life here beyond us, and they shouldn't have to suffer. They shouldn't have to suffer either. We just have to protect life. Yeah. Like, and what we are when people try to discredit climate change or offer some opposing argument. To me, I'm reading that as you are just debating human lives with me. That's what you're saying. You're saying you don't care about human lives. You don't care if people suffer as a direct result of the impact that we're having on the climate. This whole eugenics thing that we covertly push in the United States. If you look at COVID, what has happened with COVID? The amount of people that have died from COVID, the number should not be that high. The number should not be that high. And it's because the government and people in positions of power were okay with eugenics. They were okay with human lives. They were okay with people dying. They were okay with people dying. Yeah. I don't understand what kind of politic that is. We should never... Why in a question of whether to save human lives or let people die, do we choose to let people die? Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I don't understand it. And it just makes absolutely no sense. And it's going back to the capitalist thing, it all goes back to that as well, being like money hungry and just or just not even money or capitalistic views, but political views as well. Having good face and what's better for their face and stuff, and kind of sweeping certain issues under the rug. Even excluding climate change, even we're seeing environmental changes with just how we're polluting it and changing it for the worse. Like there's other physical aspects other than the climate changing that we are destroying the environment with. For example, the garbage patch on the oceans that is as big as Mexico, just floating, or no, big as Texas, as big as Texas, just floating in the ocean. We're seeing like that, and there's going, like, by a certain date, there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And then, like, not even like that on like a ocean, I guess, kind of sea life, with like certain things being wrapped around like sea turtles' necks, dolphins' necks, with just plastic bags or
those
soda.
Freaking the soda things. I was literally just thinking that the
and
rings.
Then, and then like seagulls, and then the whole fucking Oprah or like trend with the fucking straws up.
Oh, you save the turtles.
Yeah, save the turtles. And I mean, that is an actual issue, but the fucking white girls got to that.
Oh my god.
It's so fucking annoying.
Yes.
Don't let any white girls attach to anything. If you want to take something serious, don't let the white girls attach their names to it.
Yeah.
But like you're seeing that like in the environment, just outside of the ocean as well, just how much trash, like you said earlier, and stuff, and it's just like, oh, and then also, like we just went to Egypt, but physical pollution can be seen in that city, in Cairo, in China, and that was my first like in other big like cities like that, and I'm talking about big like Cairo, freaking Hong Kong, like other Tokyo, huge cities like that with millions of people living in it, and you're seeing this like
the air quality's terrible, and
then you're seeing this pollution, this thick air, and the visibility is very low. It's like a constant heavy fog on the city.
Oh my god.
And it's like that we can see the environmental problems that we're causing on the earth besides climate change. Like, put climate change aside, we're destroying the environment one way or the other. If it doesn't matter if we're destroying wildlife, we're destroying the air quality, we're destroying it in some way, and that's due to just us living. And and I saw this another TikTok where it was just like the quality of air. Like, remember when Titus was talking about how his school sometimes evacuated or didn't have school because of the air quality? And there's a certain metric that I forget precisely, but it's like a number scale, and if the number is too high, then it's too deadly to go outside. So Titus's old school, they would evacuate if the number was in the red, or if
it was at a certain level.
But I saw this one TikTok, and due to the wildfires, like in Colorado and in that area, because the wildfires spread to Colorado, and the air quality is worsening, and it's like starting to be like light red to like dark red, and they're like, holy crap, this is like so bad. But then they like moved the globe to like Hong Kong or Asia, like a part of Asia, I forget exactly where, but it was like the darkest like red, and it was like purple, and it was just like in this big area, and it was like 10 times worse than like a part of the US.
That's
where, like,
crazy.
It's like so much worse, and it's just crazy to see that.
That's crazy.
And but like back to the point, one way or the other we are affecting our environment, and it doesn't have to be solely climate change or like just solely on the freaking temperature, whether it's like an increase or like normal like seasons or whatever. Like, we're affecting our environment in other ways. I want to backtrack a little too, because I thought it was interesting about Black communities and bringing race into it, because we talked about this too, and I never I realized like the poorer communities who are heavily populated with like black people do have worse like
living conditions
with like the trash, and we've seen, like you said, we've seen it around Philly,
right?
And I kind of like realized that part, but I never realized the part when you said about the
Hurricane Katrina.
Like, I never realized that part,
right?
And I just thought, wow, like, okay, like the entire state just got like demolished,
right?
I just thought white people, Latino people, black people, they all got affected one way or another.
Yeah.
But like 80% of people who got affected were in fact like, black, and I didn't realize that. And I want to have another conversation with you about just race in the U.S. and just race in general, because I feel like we've had many conversations like in the past.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just checking the time.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've had many conversations about that in the past, and just about, because like I'm ignorant in that subject, and that one conversation too that you brought, where it was just like that can be flipped too, where like it's not 100% where like I'm learning from like a white person's perspective, but like you can also learn from a black person's perspective, and you can learn from my like upbringings and stuff. Yeah. But like I do want to have a separate like podcast about that, because I just like the talks that we had is just really interesting, and I actually want to like talk about that. It's just crazy to think that, back to the point I was getting to, that like race is involved with like every single thing. Before I talked to you, I never, like, I heard that, but I never like that's probably like that's impossible. Race can't be involved with like every little thing. But like more as we talk about it, it's just like holy shit, like it's intertwined with every single thing. And then it's like something like the environment change. It's like, how can that's like a world problem, right? How like, can that be racist? Well,
America will find a way. Everywhere will find a way, everywhere, but America especially.
But like it's amazing. It is a world problem, but like it's, as of now, it's affecting like it's gonna affect like everyone down the line, but it's affecting the black community so much more and so much heavier and way more worse than like the white community or like the privileged community. And it's just crazy to think about, because I never put two like that together.
Man, I'm not gonna make the joke again. I was like, we're all tired. You brought up a point earlier with the white girls and the whole like Save the Turtles thing. Reminded me of another sort of like sub discourse within the whole like climate change thing of just like sustainability, right? And there's a big push. And this ties into the whole like individual action. What can you do, you know, as a consumer? There's a big push for people to go sustainable, to start, you know, limiting their waste, to start using certain products over others or buying certain things over others in order to, you know, help at that level. But what I feel has happened with the whole sustainability movement is a lot of things are left out of the discussion that remove this level of realism from the conversation. For example, sustainability is not something that everybody can afford. First of all, it's expensive. Sustainability is expensive. These companies who are more eco-friendly, it's great that they're doing what they're doing, right? But a lot of times their products might be a little more expensive because of the resources that they're using or the resources that they aren't using to create a certain product. So that product might be a little more expensive. You know, the average everyday middle class, lower class worker can't afford, you know, some of these products. And what happens is eventually like sustainability becomes this like elitist, heavily monetized thing because capitalism has to infect everything that we do. I don't know. You look at spirituality, for example, right? And like crystals and tarot and all this stuff and mysticism, right? A lot of that stuff, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of that stuff has become heavily monetized and almost gate kept by certain individuals within communities, and it cheapens it. And when we're talking about how we can, help our environment on an individual level, we can't expect everybody to be 100% sustainable. We can't expect everybody we can expect the best from people, but we can't just, put all we can't refuse to acknowledge the fact that certain people are in very specific circumstances, cough, cough, black people, that prevent them from taking action in a way that we would like them to, right? So again, that goes back to that whole thing about individual action over corporate action and collective action, and taking some pressure off of yourself and just seeing, the gaps in what you're doing and what you're not doing, and how you can, at an individual level, do your best to limit waste, to be more sustainable, to et cetera. Yeah. I had more to say, but I just lost my train of thought.
I have like a few key points I want to say, and if it pops back into your head, just interrupt me. Like the last podcast, if it like ever comes back to you. But yeah, even if you do a little bit, it's still helping a lot. Like even if you recycle, I don't know. I guess that's like within the plan of just taking out trash.
Right.
Like, I don't know how much more expensive like getting a recycling can is, but you don't even have to get a recycling can. Yeah. You can just get like a bin.
Right.
But, like,
I'm pretty sure most that's applied for you, a trash can and a recycling can.
Yeah. And even like I found,
if you're privileged enough to have that,
even if you do just recycling, that helps like so much. And I feel like it's a relatively inexpensive thing. I know that trash, I feel like a lot of people have trash that comes, like I feel like that's like
like we said, recycling's elementary.
It's looped with that, but like even if you get like a bin too, poke some holes at the bottom, so like if you have any liquids and if it rains, it can just leak through. But like back at my old house, like when we used to have like 4th of July parties or big parties, we used to have like a lot of beer, like drink a lot. It was just like a party or whatever, and like a lot of soda cans for the younger kids as well. But it was just a lot, and one recycling can couldn't hold all of the cans and bottles and stuff, so we got like other bins from it and put our recyclables in, so like the trash people know what's recyclable and what's not if you sort it by like bins like that. So I guess that's like a relatively inexpensive thing to do. And even if you recycle, like I said before, that's like such a huge thing, and it may not seem big, but it is still like a massive thing, because that's such a problem with trash just going into the environment and going into the landfills and stuff. Improper management of trash is another issue that we may or may not get into, depending on if we want to, how long this podcast we want to have this podcast. But I just wanted to say that too. And then you mentioned like it's so expensive to be sustainable, and it's like so true. Like one, it's expensive to be renewable, so it marks up the price, and then they just see the profit in it. So it's expensive to be environmentally safe, but they also see the profit that they can get, which ups it. But excluding like price and everything, another way that like if you're eligible to, like if you have privilege and if you can afford like these sustainable companies, it is also important to look where you're buying things from. Janet's brother and the person that he's seeing, they only buy exclusively from farmers, like vegetables and stuff, or like grocery stores that are like naturally grown, or like in that community, locally grown,
locally grown
products. And so they only get like from stores that they know that they can trust, and or like the side stands where like Amish people, or just like farm folk, usually have these stands where they sell their vegetables there. Like from that's like better and stuff. And it's just like about the company that, or companies that you're buying from, that are environmentally safe, even though it may be more expensive. But just like paying attention to that. And even like clothing, like you and Gladia were having a conversation. I was like, listening to you guys talking about that, where it's when we were driving her back to New York, and we were talking about how, or no, it was from the ocean to Sophia's house, and you guys were talking about just where you buy your clothes from and being like conscious about that. I want you to like jump into that a little bit more, but I just want to finish a couple more thoughts before you do so. Locally grown food, and then like conscious about like what companies you buy from is important to like saving the earth and being like environmentally conscious. And then the last thing that I'm trying to remember, I forgot what I was going to say.
No, the curse. It always spreads.
If it's brought up, I mean, I said majority of what I wanted to say. Okay. But I want you to talk about the clothing and stuff, and if it comes to my mind, I'll say it later.
Yeah. Clothing is like my approach to like buying clothes and where I buy my clothes from. Again, there's no ethical consumption within capitalism, so there's no way to win, right? Because like, oh, you can just exclusively thrift. But at that point, if you're a privileged person who can afford to like buy like regularly priced clothes that you don't have to thrift, and you're thrifting, then you're taking away from other people. Also, there are people who freaking thrift and then resell it at a higher price on fucking Depop. It's so fucking annoying. Scum activity. Absolute scumbag activity. But yes, like you exclusively thrift and you're taking things away from other people. You exclusively shop, at Forever 21 and these like companies that are terrible for the environment. You lose there, right? Like you have to diversify where you're getting your clothes, and also don't be wasteful. Don't buy all these clothes. You don't have to necessarily always be keeping up with these trends, or even makeup. Makeup is so hard to dispose of. Oh my god, makeup waste is so hard to dispose of. My dad had a cosmetic company, and after he passed away, we had to dispose of all of his chemical waste, all of it, all the nail polish and everything. It was such a headache trying to find a place that would take it, trying to find a place that would properly dispose of it. Like, chemical waste is so difficult to get rid of. So makeup too, reduce how much you're buying, right? Only buy certain pieces. Don't buy it just to buy it. Buy things that, are longevitous. That's a word. Buy things that will last you a long time, pieces that you can reuse, so you're not, buying $100 hauls from fucking Shein or Forever 21. I don't think anyone shops at Forever 21 anymore. Shein or Romwe or whatever, all like every 2 weeks. It's not necessary. One person does not need that much, right? So thrift when you can. Buy from Everlane or like these eco-friendly companies when you can. And you're not always going to be able to avoid an H&M sale, right? You're not always going to be able to avoid PacSun, right? Just diversify where you're getting your things from.
And then like my dad's like has always been big on this too. And then I'm going to toot my horn a little bit, like a little bit in later, but I just want to say, just like how American capitalism is like buy, always buy.
Oh my God.
Always, like the latest trends, the latest like clothing, like fucking
wasteful.
All 4 seasons, fall, winter, spring, summer, like clothing lines, like what's in, what's out. It's so much. And then, but my dad's kind of big on this, where it's being minimalistic. Where it's just having just enough and not like overbuy things or buy objects. Right. Because you're probably just going to end up throwing it out down the line when you move. Yes. And it's just going to go up in the garbage and stay in the garbage, and it's never going to be touched within like 5 years since you bought it. It's just going to be used once. And with clothes too. And just like if you're doing like a spring cleanup thing, or if you're moving, especially, because I didn't realize how much like stuff I had until I moved here, and then when Like my dad moved from Lancaster to Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Even that, because like we still lived a pretty quote unquote minimalistic life where we didn't have that much. And if you would have walked in our old house before we moved and said, "Do you think this is a lot of stuff?" You'd probably say no. It's very like clean and very like non. You guys don't seem like a lot of objects. We brought 2 tons of literally 2 tons of waste to like the garbage.
That's crazy.
Because we got this big box truck and we basically just loaded up the box truck
with trash.
And little side note, it was kind of cool because we had to like call the government because like, or like the local government or local like trash authorities and saying that we have a box truck and we're dumping trash. And it's kind of interesting because they mark license plates there, so like if you have to give them the license plate of that box truck, and once you give it the license plate to them, then that truck can't dump there anymore. Like it can't dump at any dump anymore. It's only one time thing.
Wow.
Because it's so big.
It's so much.
It's so much. They're trying to limit the waste.
Yeah.
And plus money thing. It's a money thing as well, because like more weight you have, more expensive it is. But like even like I feel like we were pretty minimalistic, but like we still had a lot of waste. But just bringing back to the point, like try to be minimalistic as much as possible. Not like you, but like generally. But like
of course,
being minimalistic is such like a key thing as well. Like buying unnecessary things is such a problem within the U.S. And it's crazy how much things we just unnecessarily buy. And then when you're moving and or like doing a spring clean, it's important to go to Goodwill and or like other donation areas, because so much can be donated, and which can help the community. Cheaper things, but it limits waste in the landfill, because most people's thought process is too lazy to go to the Goodwill. But there's like so many clothes that unless if it's like freaking ragged with like holes and stuff, don't throw that stuff out. Give it to the Goodwill, and it's like you can get tax benefits off of that, or like have tax benefits for donating clothes and stuff, and you get tax breaks, so it doesn't just benefit the community and the earth, but you can also make money, quote unquote,
and benefit yourself. Yeah.
So it's like very useful to, when you are cleaning your house, to give to Goodwill, because it's so beneficial. Right. And with that minimalistic like thing.
I think that's a good cue to end the podcast.
Did you have anything to say, or?
I have no closing notes other than just care about the environment. Not even the environment. Care about your fellow man, your fellow human, right? We are all on this earth together. We have to take care of it and each other.
Yeah. Okay, I may interrupt the outro a little bit because there was one last topic that I wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, one last quick. I'll make this quick, under 5 minutes. 5 words or less.
Okay.
But like, we talked about mostly everything that I wanted to talk about. But the last thing that I wanted to talk to, which was I wanted to talk to you earlier, but then it floated in my head, was like farming and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have like much information or know like the technicals about this, so this is why I wanted to keep this brief. Then we can end it, because we have been recording for an hour and almost 50 minutes.
Oh
now.
Wow!
But it's farming as well. Like if you can, that's like a whole nother problem with corporate farming and just like individual farming.
Yes.
But if you can buy from individual farms,
right,
or like self-owning farms, that's better. There's a small push where people are starting to organically grow, which using less chemicals. And there's this type of farming where basically they just don't put any chemicals within their farms. So they let the weeds grow within their farms and let like mosquito and bugs
actually
just, like, grow. And it's like the same amount if they use pesticides, if not more. They get like a crop per acre. Right. And it's equivalent to using chemicals, if not more and better. So one, it's helping the environment, not using chemicals, and that chemicals is seeping into the dirt. going into
Yeah,
waterways and destroying
yeah.
the environment that way. But it's kind of just like this small like little push for that, and there are individual farmers or family-owned farms that are starting to make that push to not use chemicals, and those are the places where we should buy food from because that's better for the environment, where these corporate farms are freaking having airplanes with chemicals dropping on their farms to kill the pests, to kill the weeds, which is the reason for that is because it's a lot easier to farm and it's a lot faster, which makes more profit. Capitalism
rearing its ugly head again.
Yes. But I just wanted to state that because it's kind of like the corporate thing where you should be buying stuff,
giving you
and
money.
Supermarkets where like support that, I think Aldi's, and then some minute like not big corporate grocery stores around Philly that you can buy from. But like if you are in a rural area, just go to your like local like grocery farmers market, and I'm sure they're growing like a lot of like good crops that don't take as much chemicals. But it's important to make that push towards that as well, because farming is contributing to the climate change a shit ton. Just how we grow, and then just how we use the land and mistreating the land that is being grown, and it's just crazy. So that was my wrapping thoughts. I don't have anything more to say, so we can end it here.
That's it. Thanks for joining my podcast. Another episode in the books. I love this job.
You get paid pretty well.
I don't actually. I make no money from this. So
then why are you doing it?
Because
I just got it.
You can just cut there. I literally, like, my brain cannot.